They?
Talking shit about Islam as well.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah.
Keep talking shit.
Yeah, okay.
I'm gonna cut your throat.
I will. You're gonna you're gonna what? You're gonna what?
Don't get
You're
in
gonna
my
what?
face, bro.
Right. Where's the police? He just said he's gonna cut my throat. I feel it's absolutely my duty to ensure that my children don't inherit this.
Breaking today, women's rights and anti-Islam activist Kellie J. Keane increasingly under threat in the disunited kingdom and around the world as she risks her own safety in order to speak out on the growing Islamization of the West and the vicious and resentful, and let me just say it too, violent trans mob. Now, I think what Kellie J has gone through would make most mere mortals walk away, like when she was surrounded by rabid trans activists, the worst of the worst in New Zealand in 2023, and got a tin of tomato soup poured over her by this loon. Watch. If that wasn't bad enough, Kellie J was then nearly crushed to death by these animals in terrifying scenes. But unfortunately, those risks for Kellie J now very, very clear in her home country. Because at Speaker's Corner in Hyde Park, meant to be ground zero of the need for free speech in the Western world, when Kellie J was speaking out against Islamism, you may remember that she was threatened to have her throat cut.
Where were they? That fateful day, where were they?
Talking shit about Islam as well.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah.
Keep talking shit.
Yeah, okay.
I'm gonna cut your throat.
I will. You're gonna you're gonna what? You're gonna what?
Don't get in
You're
my
gonna
face,
what?
bro.
Right. Where's the police? He just said he's gonna cut my throat. Police? Where are they?
Now, the police were there. And I'm just thinking about what we've seen from the police in recent weeks, right? In Birmingham, when, you know, the young white lad is getting beaten up. Oh, my goodness. Henry Novak. The police were there. Do you think they responded with any urgency? Look.
Hi. Hello.
You're right.
Yeah. So that chap down there just came up to me to tell me
Oh,
he's
he's
going to cut
coming.
my throat.
He's coming.
It's the guy here with his the thing on it. Yeah, he's got a white t-shirt, grey white t-shirt.
He's right there. They're taking it.
Well, I think they're getting out. Hurry up.
Well, there he is. He's right there. That's right here. This guy here.
This lady here is calling my prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam all sorts of words.
Never said a word.
Illegal. It's
not illegal.
Nobody.
And Kellie J joins us now with some breaking news on that incident alongside Montgomery Toms, who's also under regular threat of physical violence from the hard left in his role at Freedom Watch UK. So, Kellie J, we covered this on the show, and my response was that the police really didn't seem to give a damn. But can you explain what has happened? Because you have pursued this, and thank God we actually do have some good news for once.
When one of them jumped down out of the van, and the other guy sort of got out, I had to insist to these two female officers who took me to the side that I wanted to pursue it. And they said, "Oh, we don't know because we're here as a unit to protect women and girls from violence." And I was like, oh, okay, I seem like maybe the right sort of person then. And they thought they might have to wait for another team, but I was quite insistent. And so they had a word with him, arrested him, and he was charged, and he's pleaded guilty to, I believe, I don't want to be mistaken here, but it's threats to kill is the words that were used when I was told about it over the phone. And so sentencing is a bit later. But yeah, he's been convicted because he pleaded guilty.
Good. I am so glad. But it was so shocking to me, Kellie J, that to begin with, that they were even trying to say to you, oh, we're not going to be immediately able to take a report because there's some other women's event on in another facility. I mean, it's like you're literally there as a women's rights activist being directly threatened. We're building a community that isn't afraid to speak up. If that sounds like you, hit that subscribe button and join us. Your voice matters here. Welcome to Outspoken.
Do you know what's really annoyed me, and I've been a victim of men who want to shut me up. I think this is the fourth or fifth person that's been charged. And it's always this, how did you feel? And I just feel like saying, why does it matter how I feel towards a violent threat or to being sent something like disgusting? Why does it matter how I feel about it? Why is it more of a crime? If you commit a crime, it's a crime. If I come and rob your favorite jacket, Dan, and you're like, oh, I didn't really mind, have I not committed the crime of stealing your jacket? It makes no sense. It makes me very, very angry that all of this is subjective nonsense and it needs to be extracted out of our legal system.
It really does. I mean, Monty, what's your reaction to seeing the sort of, I guess, lack of interest from the police as someone who, as we've covered on the show before, regularly puts yourself out there just like Kellie J does, really, I guess, puts yourself out there to be attacked at times by leftists. I mean, we saw this earlier.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, party politics to one side, because that's a different matter, have a huge amount of admiration for what you do, Kellie, and have done for a while. In fact, when I was younger and before I got into all of this, it was my dad that was forwarding me your stuff, and he's a huge fan as well, so I'm sure he'll appreciate me mentioning that. But anyway, yeah, I think that the fact that you actually got someone to plead guilty is a massive win. So well done on that. I actually yesterday, or the day before yesterday, at Pride 2026, I returned with the same placard that I had a year before that, to which I was arrested for, which stated that trans equals mental illness. And I went back as a point of principle to say, look, I was never charged. Everything was thrown out. You were, this is anti-free speech, and Kellie, I'm sure you're familiar with the Public Order Act and how that's just weaponized against people like ourselves constantly. It's completely subjective. But a win on my end, and the footage is actually going to be coming out, I need to edit it up after I come off this, is that the police, I was mobbed, not as bad as what Kellie just went through there, but I was mobbed by a bunch of lefties, which could have got much worse, and I signaled to a police officer to get me out. Interestingly, Dan, it was the same police officer that pushed the arrest last year by coincidence. That's who I signaled to actually get me out of it. So he pulled me out of the situation and we walked away, and very briskly I wanted to get away from not just the lefties, but also the police. So I went down an alleyway with Will, they chased us down and they held us under caution, and they went to their superiors to see if we were going to be arrested for public order offence. Now, the reason I'm saying this is actually a win. Because what happened was, after I relayed the fact that I discovered it was the same officer from last year, and he knew, and he realised the public outcry from the arrest last year, he went to his superiors, he relayed that, explained the situation, explained what happened last year, and they actually let us go. Still seized my sign, but they let us go, which I see as a massive win. So the fact that happened to me, and I managed to get that lifted and get away from that a year later, and the fact that you've actually managed to get a confession and the police dealt with it to some extent, whilst of course it's bollocks and we shouldn't have to do this stuff, I think it's actually a positive end to the show to say that we've got some kind of movement.
This channel provides news reporting, commentary, criticism, and analysis based on publicly available information. All images, video clips, and other materials belong to their respective copyright owners and are used where appropriate for commentary.
And can I just ask you both personally, because look, Monty, you've spoken about your dad. Kellie, we know you're a mom and you have a lovely husband. What do your loved ones think about this ongoing threat? I mean, obviously, they love the fact that you're passionate and that you want to change this country, and you are changing this country. I mean, your work, both of your work, is absolutely incredible, and I have so much respect for what you do. But are there times, Kellie, when sometimes you just think, well, it's not worth it because I am a mum, because I am a wife?
I think it actually compels me to do it. So the day before I went to Whitechapel, I'll be very brief. I went to Whitechapel and we were given Section 14 conditions, public order conditions about these middle-aged women, where we could meet, what time, and what time we had to finish. And the people stand up for racists, or whatever they're called. Stand up
for racism. Yeah.
Stand up for something.
Well, stand up. What is it? Stand up for. Yeah. We know who you mean. We know who you mean.
Yeah, right. So I call them something else pejoratively, and so I got to be careful. And they were in contact with the police, but they were subjected to no conditions whatsoever. So anyway, knowing that I live in that sort of two-tier policed country, I feel it's absolutely my duty to ensure that my children don't inherit this, and Tom doesn't inherit this absolute nightmare that let's face it, it's probably my generation that have somewhat caused, but my kids have never seen any of the attacks. They don't want to watch any of it. They don't want to hear about any of it. And my husband's often nearby. Let's just say that.
Yeah. And Monty, what about your dad? Does he sometimes think, oh gosh, like, why are you putting yourself at risk?
Certainly. I mean, my dad, I think, also has this sort of uncomfortable, he's sort of proud, but also feels responsible because he radicalized me so much through COVID when I was 14, 15, that I hated the state so much that it compelled me to do what I'm doing now. I don't tell my parents everything that I do, and I know eventually they discover certain things. Unfortunately, my mum and dad are useless on social media, so they don't access or see much of what I put out. But similar, to what Kellie just said, there's a sense of duty. Mums used to wave their 16-year-old sons off to war. I'm not even doing 5% of what they were doing in trenches. So to sit at the age of 21 years old and look upon my generation and feel that, I should just sit at home on my arse whilst, over 1,000 years of lineage in this country is literally being broken apart bit by bit. I couldn't sleep at night, and there's so much that my life is consumed by politics. I often say that I am enslaved to the idea of wanting to be free, which is an oxymoron in itself, right? But that really is the case. I dedicate my life to this. I don't necessarily want to do it. It's an act of duty. It's an act of stoicism, and I encourage other young men to do the same.
Brilliant. Well, you're both absolute legends, great Britons. But let's reveal now today's greatest Briton and Union jackass. First, though, to your super chats. So much coming in. 14 Barber says, time to leave YouTube to websites, Rumble and Substack. Real Thinking Monkey says, your first topic, I can sum it up in 4 numbers. 1984. Chaos UK 2026 says, Dan, business won't let VPNs to be banned. It won't be safe for corporates to send information over the internet without VPNs. Well, look, I pray you're right. All I know is that this crazy, mad-ass government are admitting that they want to do it. Fidel Defense UK says, hey, Labour, why not just ban the internet? And Arbiter says, care the traitor Starmer won't get rid of me. Okay, a reminder of our Union Jackass nominees. I went for Ed Balls because he is continuing to present on Good Morning Britain, despite the fact that he's in negotiations to join the next Labour administration. Montgomery Toms went for Sadiq Khan for littering our streets with pride flags and endorsing a protest that allowed perverted men to walk around naked in front of children. And Kellie J. Keane went for Lord Timpson for releasing dangerous prisoners onto the street. And I have to say, it wasn't close. Today, I'm in third place with 8% of the vote. The runner-up with 9% of the vote Kellie J. Keane and Lord Timpson, but the overwhelming winner with 84% after what was just a total debacle this weekend, Sadiq Khan. And I'm sure both myself and Kellie J. Keane will be very happy with that one. But Kellie J, you can nominate, and look, there is only one guy for this today. You can nominate our greatest Britain. Who are you going for?
Harry Kane.
It was amazing, wasn't it?
Yes.
Did you stay up?
Oh, I tried to stay up. I did watch the last half an hour, but yeah, I just couldn't get out of bed because I decided to do is try and go to bed and then
Well,
wake
if I'm
up.
looking rough, it's because I stayed up. What about you, Monty?
No, give them bread and give them circuses and they'll never revolt.
I was literally I was so wired at 5 a.m. and it was light outside. But I have to be honest, it was probably the best football match I've ever watched. Like, it was totally, because it had everything. It wasn't just about what was happening on the pitch. It was all of the stuff that had happened beforehand. You know, the fireworks, the covering the England team bus in foam, the playing loud music. It just had everything. So actually, I don't regret the fact that maybe I'm a little bit tired today, but yes, Harry Kane, most definitely today's greatest Britain. Great choice, and you too as well. Thank you so much to Kellie J.
Thank you, Dan. It's
Keane
been a great show.
and Montgomery Toms, and of course you can support Montgomery on Freedom Watch UK, which is available on YouTube, and Kellie J. Keane has her YouTube channel, and you will also find her on X.